and we turn over to Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 2. He says, well, when I came to you, brothers, I did not come with eloquence or superior wisdom as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God. All I had was my story. I was on my way to Damascus. I was on this horse, and he keeps telling his story. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. I came to you in weakness and fear and with much trembling. Really? You didn't show it. My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with a demonstration of the Spirit's power, so that your faith might not rest on men's wisdom, but on God's power. People can't argue your story, your testimony, and you're not persuading them for anything. You're just giving your story. Hey man, you look like you're really down. Yeah, well let me tell you, I was down like that before. This is what happened. Wow, God did that for you? Yeah. And I don't know what he's planning on doing in your life, but maybe we can pray. Okay. But when we walk around grumbling and complaining, and everything is awful, and we speak doubt and fear and judgment, your story doesn't mean a whole lot except that people don't want what you have. Kind of, it works both ways. The law of testimony works both ways. And we'll conclude with 2 Corinthians chapter 12. See, Paul was again telling his story. He's like, there's this thing that keeps bugging me, and I've asked the Lord to fix it, and he won't. That thing that you keep crying out to God, God, can you just take care of this thing? My life would be so much better. No. And so Paul had this thing too, and he's like, I asked the Lord, and I asked the Lord, and I asked the Lord, and he's like, no, I don't think so. Okay, well, it kept Paul humble, see? He called it the thorn in his flesh. But Paul did say that this was God's response, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insults, in hardship, in persecutions, and difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. I told somebody else this week who was going through some really bad stuff, and I said, let's think about what your weakness is. How is God wanting to make that your strength? Now, that thing that you're trying to escape, that thing that maybe even is your fault, like with Saul. Saul was a pretty nasty guy. He created that problem for himself. That's who he was. But how does that very thing get transformed into your strength? How does that keep you in a position to be dependent on God, so that when you meet someone who's in a bad spot, you can go, well, you know what? I understand, because I was there. I used to lack compassion for parents with troubled children. I'll be honest. I'm like, man, you really screwed that one up. The Lord blessed me and allowed me to walk through some troubles with my own daughter. And He stripped me of my pride. And that's why I can tell you. My daughter was at a point she was hurting so badly, she tried to end it. So at 2 in the morning, when I'm following the rescue intensive care unit from Wood County Hospital to St. V's Hospital, I'm like, I don't have life figured out, do I? I'm leaving a voicemail for my boss. I won't be there tomorrow. I'm hoping my daughter makes it through the night because her liver's failing from 30 Tylenol. And you're a pastor of a church, and you're a teacher, and you're thinking going to school and get your master's degree in counseling, but your own daughter's hurting so bad, she tries to end it all. You know what? I think I know how Paul felt. In my weakness, I come to you with no claims of wisdom. Now let me tell you this, I have a lot more compassion for parents of runaways, because she did that too, parents who have problems, because I'm like, you know what? That is rough stuff. So sometimes God has to soften our heart by letting us be a little bit humbled. But in our weakness, we are strong. That has become a strength. And through all the struggles of my daughter, that is her strength. She's come through an awful lot, still coming through. But rather than being the condemning, judgmental mother that I have been in many years, I am now the praying, interceding mother on my face before God, because there's not a thing I can do but pray and love.
Amen.
And so in your weakness this morning, whatever it is that you try to hide from people, you know what? Paul said, I glory in my weakness, because in it I am strong. And so rather than try to escape it this morning, I challenge you to put it before the cross and say, I can't do anything with my weakness. Part of it's my fault, part of it's life, part of it was done upon me, but it is my weakness. And I give it to you. And I say, I declare over it, this is my strength. Because now God's grace is sufficient for me. It will carry me through, no matter how rough and how ugly. But in that hospital room, when the chaplain came up to me and said, is there anything you need? God was still shaking me down. Oh, I'm fine. You know, I tried to, you know, because I'm not supposed to need any help. I'm supposed to be the helper. And so there was a family that came in, and their little ones were in a terrible car accident. You know, the toddlers were, you know, intubated, and the grandma's just crumbling in the hallway. So I go out there and I pray with the grandma. She needed support. But the Lord said, would you just stop? Would you just stop? Stop being the helper. You're not supposed to help right now. You're supposed to humble yourself and go, I need help. It took a while to get me there. It did. But God got me by the end. And so now, as I live in my fishbowl, you can think what you want. You can judge if you want. That's okay. Because in my weakness, I am strong. And that's all I can give you is my story. That's all we have.